Before the First World War, which war cost the most lives? So that's a good question. That's something we should know about. Uh, before the First World War, there were many wars that had a great death toll. For example, before the First World War, you had colonization, colonialism, which extracted an immense death toll across various parts of the world, across Africa, across Asia, even the Americas. So, for example, in the 1885s, from 1885 to 1908, approximately thereabouts, you had the Belgian Free State, which was essentially owned by King Leopold of Belgium. It was the Congo Free State. It was in Central Africa, and it was a period of incredible exploitation of the native people. They were put to work as slaves. Children, men, women, elderly, everyone. Children were mutilated. Their arms and legs were cut off, and whatnot. At least 10 million Africans, at the very conservative estimate, died during the Belgian occupation of the Congo. There was a horrible period. And then there was this scramble for Africa in the 19th century, when the whole of Europe scrambled for Africa, to divide up Africa into small pieces and extract as much as they could out of it in order to enrich themselves. So Germany conducted a genocide in Namibia. Other countries did all kinds of atrocities everywhere else. The French were involved, the British were involved, Netherlands, the Germans, and so many other, Belgium, like I said. So at the very least, 50 million Africans would have died in the 19th century in this colonial occupation of Africa. Then you had the European colonization of North America only in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, which cost at least 100 million lives of the Native Americans. You had the British colonial occupation of India, which cost minimum 100 million lives in relentless year after year engineered famines. One year you would have 2 million deaths, one year 5 million, another year 1 million. Every year you had millions of people dying in these artificially engineered famines. So you had at least 100 million Indians who died in that. And in the 1857 War of Independence, at least 13 million people died in that. So that is some of the figures. And then let's look at China. China has seen enormous conflicts. Like I said in another episode in the past, China is used to war, but all those wars are internal wars. They are all civil wars. China's great military feats are all military feats against its own people. So you had the Taiping Rebellion in the 19th century, from 1850 to 1860s on, thereabouts, in which from between 50 and 100 million people died. In just a decade and a half, approximately 100 million people died in China in this Taiping Rebellion. And then you had the transition from the Ming dynasty to the Qing dynasty in the 17th century, in which at least 25 million Chinese died. So that's another civil war. You had the An Lushan rebellion in the 8th century, in which 30 to 40 million Chinese died. You had the Dungan Revolt again in the 19th century in Western China, present-day China, in which 10 to 15 million people died, mostly Chinese Muslims. And then outside of China, you had the conquests of Timur, in which 70 to 20 million people died. And then you had the Turkic invasions and occupation of India, which is not documented at all because India is a secular country, but I would say that at least 500 million people died over 5 centuries in India. 500 million Indians minimum during these Turkic invasions and occupation of India. So that is the kind of death toll the world has seen. It kind of makes you question humanity. There is this theory, the violent ape theory or something like that, which says that humans and apes are the same. We are the same aggressive instincts that are inbuilt in our DNA, and we just can't help it. We just have to keep fighting each other. So the same aggressive tendencies are seen among chimpanzees. They also form groups and coalitions and go to war against each other. Their warfare is brutal, and we are no different. We share about 90 to 95% of the same DNA with the chimps, or at least more than 98%. So we are very similar to our closest evolutionary cousins, and we have the same urges and instincts and aggressive drive. So all these numbers, they tell you they kind of bring that out. So that's the kind of history the humanity has seen, and I've only touched some parts of recent history. There have been many more wars and many more deaths and all that.